Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Illinois Arts Council Agency, and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald in Hillsboro, in front of a building that you may recognize if you're familiar with downtown. The old red Rooster, and I mean old, from like 1902, is getting a facelift, inside and out. And Kendra, you and your husband John really took on a project here, didn't you?
Yes, we
Well,
did.
you did. I'll tell you what, it's a big building.
It is a big building.
It was built as a hotel. It had a lot of rooms. It had a restaurant, had a full kitchen. It was a big operation.
Yeah, it was a fully functioning operation that they built onto a couple of times as need arose.
Yeah. And what possessed you to want to get into this?
Well, my husband and I were actually thinking about buying a building that was just a little bit down the street. And we kept, we live north of town, and we kept saying, somebody really needs to fix the Rooster. So, months go by, and we never really came to an agreement with the man that was selling us that other building. And so we just kind of, over time, somehow we decided we should fix the Red Rooster. So that's
how long
that's
have you
how
been
it
at
started. Right at January of 2018. We bought the building in October of 2017, and we,
And
started
you're
work.
3 years in, and you're getting close, aren't you?
We are getting very close, yeah.
You're going to show us through.
Yeah.
Terrific. Now, the front of the building is a little different than it was when you got a hold of it, isn't it?
Yes.
Tell us about that project.
So it actually looked quite similar, but I mean, what was here was rotting and decaying, and it was actually a very different kind of structure. So when you walked out the front doors, there was a step down, and this whole lawn was at that retaining wall level, height-wise. So there was a big, huge step trying to get kind of up off the street level, and so we raised the porch to get rid of that step, and then we lowered the rest of it. So there's a lot more steps than there were before. And then there was a ramp here, but it was a pretty steep ramp, and so that's all brand new as well. So now there's a nice.
That's accessibility. And the porch itself is okay, but man, the pillars and the railings and everything, the pillars are old and the railings are new?
Yeah, so the railings themselves are actually almost exactly what was there, reproduced, but the columns themselves, minus the base, that little square base on the bottom, are all old. Those are the original columns from 1902. They've been painstakingly redone to stand for another 120 years.
So how many rooms were in the Rooster?
We really don't know.
Because it got chopped up a few times.
Yes, because originally in 1902, there were privies out back and a bathroom on the second floor with a bathtub that was, that was all there was. So it, I believe by 1913 had been changed around so that there were at least more restrooms and indoor plumbing, not necessarily in every room. And then again, it was changed so that every room had its own restroom, and then every room had its own shower and, a full restroom. And when we actually got the property, there were some apartments that had been kind of carved out that we've turned back into hotel rooms, and then there are some other areas where they were hotel rooms where we've kind of carved them out into apartments.
Okay, so you'll have apartments, hotel rooms, you're going to have a tap room, a restaurant?
Yes.
And a brewery?
And a brewery and a distillery, yes.
You got them covered. You got the bases covered.
Yes, we just weren't sure what to do, so we said, let's do it all.
So you've added on. You've added on to the building as well.
Yes, just the back where the brewery and the distillery are. Yeah.
Okay, so we get to see it all in this 30 minutes, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I'd like you to do is first take me to the part that's nearest completion.
Okay.
That would be the rooms, right?
Yeah, the hotel rooms are almost done, just some trim.
Okay, let's go there.
All right.
Okay, Kendra, we just came up to the second floor. It's interesting how this is intentional or not, whether they designed it or not, but this bends off, but I assume this is where an addition was put on. Huh?
Yeah, and you can see right there that beam kind of delineates 1902 from 1903.
1903, okay, and then it kind of, for some reason, curves out.
I think because of the property, there's a church right back there. I think they had to
They had to squeeze it in.
Squeeze it in. So
Okay.
they pushed it back this direction, to get it on the property.
Okay, so now we're in 1903, and this will be a hotel room.
This is what we're calling the deluxe hotel room. It's the one that's a little bit different because it's got this entryway.
Okay.
So it's this part here is going to have the closet, the bathroom, and then this is the hotel room.
Okay. And every room will have a bathroom.
Oh yeah.
That's okay. Yeah. And this is really pretty sweet. What happened here? This was the outside. Was this the outside wall?
This was the inside edge of an exterior wall, and you can see here kind of the difference right here where the brick is cut, where they added on the third row of brick. This was the end of 1902, and this was a window, and downstairs in the same spot there's a door.
Oh,
it's a doorway.
It makes a perfect doorway, but it was a window.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Slightly different arch downstairs.
Beautiful new flooring. Are all your rooms going to have the same flooring?
Yes, this is all brand new white oak that's been custom dyed to what would have been the original coloring of the hardwood. So none of the wood that was here was salvageable anymore because the rooms had been cut up and reshaped so many times.
Maybe we can get a look at how some of this is kind of unique, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is, and you're having this milled just to match what was here.
Yes, it's exactly the same from the very tip
concave
top of the header all the way down to the plinth block and 10-inch trim at the bottom.
Man, that's attention to detail.
Yeah.
It's probably not easy to find people who can do that.
No, but there happens to be a place over in Carlinville that was happy to help. Yeah.
Okay, how many hotel rooms will you have?
There are actually 12 hotel rooms. There's 6 down and 6 up that are identical. It's the back wing of the building.
Okay, and how many apartments will you have?
There are going to be 8 apartments, 6 1-bedrooms, and 2 2-bedrooms.
Okay. Now, they're not as far along as finished as
No, and actually the plumbing is finished in them. The electric isn't finished, so they're close to getting electric done and drywall up.
Can we see that area?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go check that out.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're in the apartment area, and you can see there will be halls between them, of course,
Right.
as apartments have. And there's one that's down here that I think you're really proud of. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
this is, I think, one of the neatest kind of entryways and just apartments in general. I mean, they're not finished, but this one is kind of a sunken, so that's the kitchen, bathroom, bedroom back there, but this one is neat. It's got a pretty awesome view all the way of everything that's going on in Hillsboro.
Yeah, it is.
So this is actually 1913. So when we come down those stairs, now we're in the 1913 edition. And when you look at it from the outside of the building, you can easily see there's this
Because
little
the
square that's
brickwork
different.
looks different?
The brick is different. It does not have the big header on the, that doesn't have that top piece that which is actually just metal decorative. It looks kind of like gutters, but it's not. But yeah.
Now, this looks to me like, and I'm not very talented at this stuff. It looks to me like you have a lot of work to do. What do you sort of have envisioned completing this?
Well,
area? I mean, is it this year?
The hotel will be open, the lobby will be done, that kind of stuff will be done this year for sure.
Wow.
The apartments, maybe they won't all be finished, but they'll be behind closed doors. And actually what you see here to completion doesn't take very long. It's the infrastructure and the things that happened prior to getting to this point. The plumbing is all done. It's really just running the electrical, and then putting up, the drywall and that kind of stuff. It actually is pretty quick compared to the infrastructure.
Do you have anybody on a waiting list for an apartment? Or is anybody even aware that you're going to be?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
I get a question at least once a week begging me to put them on a waiting list.
So you do have okay.
Yeah, but
that's nice.
I have a list of names that I know want apartments, but I haven't made any promises to anyone.
Yeah, well, that's kind of nice, though, to know that
Yeah,
you've got
oh, yeah, definitely.
people who are already interested.
Yep. A lot of people want to live here. A lot of people in this town, their histories are tied to this place in one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course they all know the Red Rooster, right?
Oh, sure.
So,
they all know the Red Rooster. They all their wedding receptions and family gatherings and bridal showers. I think half of Montgomery County learned to play piano here because the woman that ran the place for like 60 years, she was the piano lady too. So, yeah.
Okay, well, listen. Next thing I want to do is maybe I'll talk to John about this. But next thing I want to do is you already added on to this.
Yes.
And you're putting in a brewery and a distillery. In fact, some of the equipment has already arrived. You've got it installed. So, can we take a look at that?
Absolutely, yeah. So it has all been at least placed where it's going to sit. And the piping is not complete.
Well, John, right now we're on the east side of the Red Rooster, you know, and you can see that you've built on a little bit, just a little bit here. Now, I asked, one of the first things I asked you was, you must have a background in construction. You said no software.
That's right. That's correct.
And I thought, well, how does that match up?
Well, I've always done construction when I was younger, and my dad was an electrician, so we were always kind of working on projects. And then after I went to college for computers, and ended up having a career in Silicon Valley, and did 15 years out there.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it, but we decided to come back here. And
Are you from here?
I'm actually from Champaign.
Yeah, so the area, you're in the area.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, you're lucky that your dad taught you all that stuff. My dad never did, and so I'm a klutz when it comes to stuff like that. But it looks to me like you're pretty well able to handle yourself out
I
there.
can do enough to be dangerous.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, so I'm looking here. It looks like a beer garden to me.
Yes.
Okay, this is patio here. What's it going to be?
It's going to be a beer garden. We'll have tables seeing out here. You'll be able to see up into the windows where all the equipment is. Mm-hmm. We added this building on the back of the existing structure to house the brewery and distillery. Mm-hmm. And then the tap room is right here to the left, so that'll be the entrance into the tap room, and we have a bar area there. So.
Okay, is it your plan to have a kitchen, or is that sometime in the future?
We're going to have a kitchen. It's going to be a pretty simple kitchen, kind of pub food. So.
Mm-hmm. And now we're talking about this. This is the brewery and distillery?
Yes.
Okay.
So
and
we'll see the brewing equipment on the inside. The piece that you'll see right there is the still. So you'll see that right through the windows.
Okay, let's walk down here and
Sure.
get a little closer look, because you've got some big tanks here, and I assume those are meant to house something.
Yes. So the biggest tank that you see facing here will house all of our malt for beer. The smaller one, since we can source it a little bit easier locally, is for corn for whiskey. But these will get fed in from trucks on the outside, and then there's an auger system that feeds it into the equipment on the inside.
Okay. So you say locally sourced. Of course, you're right in the middle of corn country,
Exactly.
so you should be able to have no trouble with that. Malt's a little different. It's very expensive, and it's hard to get a hold of the right
That's
stuff,
right.
isn't it?
And it grows more up north, and that's where all the malting process happens. So we'll probably have that shipped in. We've looked into doing some local sourcing of it. It's the malting process that we're looking at doing that would be hard to do at this volume. So.
Yeah. Well, I want to take a walk around here because I want to see the scale of this building. You've got your own loading dock here that you've thought ahead, and you're going to have a lot of supplies delivered here, because hopefully if business is good, you're going to be going through a lot of stuff.
That's right. So we'll be able to load stuff into this dock, and we'll also be able to ship beer out of this dock. We plan on distributing. You'll see the size of the equipment inside. It's a lot for just serving out of the tap room, so we'll have extra to be able to distribute around.
Now, do you have a name for this business? Is it going to be called Red Rooster? Will the beer and the whiskey be called something else? Or?
It'll actually be called Red Rooster. We're calling it Red Rooster Brewing and Distilling. So.
Okay, and apartments.
And apartments.
And hotel.
And hotel room.
Okay. And when you get a restaurant, you'll call that the Red Rooster?
Exactly.
Can we go in and take a look at your stuff?
Absolutely.
Well, John, this building still smells new. Everything's brand new, isn't it?
Yep.
Can we walk back there, because we were looking at those tanks, and we know that those have to come into the building. So let's take us back there.
Okay, so the silos are out there with the grain. We had the auger system comes in. It comes into this kind of custom milling system. Mills up both malt for beer and corn for whiskey. And then these augers will take it up, and it will take it all the way around up to a grist case that will weigh it before it goes into the mash tun, where you actually produce beer and whiskey and make the sugar water / wort.
Okay, so that's how you know that you put the proper amount in for what you want to get out. You need to know what that exact weight is.
Exactly.
Okay, and so it goes through the auger system, across.
Up into that funnel, which is called a grist case.
Okay.
And that's where it gets weighed, and then it comes down into this tank, and that's where you basically make the mash water for either beer.
And you're making the mash water for either whiskey or beer, both, right?
Yeah, this is kind of a custom system. So the company that built this is out of Rock Island, and they kind of made this custom system where I can make it both in the same tank, because beer needs to be boiled, whereas whiskey goes straight into a whiskey fermenter to go ahead and produce alcohol in the fermentation process. So.
Okay. So, but of course you won't do them at the same time. You'll
Correct.
do the beer mix and then you'll do the whiskey mix, but you can do them in the same container.
We can do them in the same system,
Yeah.
and then we'll just alternate days.
Sweet, sweet. Okay, well, let's walk down and show us where it goes then.
So beer will go from the mashing process over here into the boiling process. That's where you add hops and your ingredients. Boil, sanitize, and comes over to these fermenters with the cone bottoms, and that's where we'll make the beer. So that's where we'll ferment alcohol, clarify, and then we can put it into serving tanks or kegs or cans.
How many different beer products could you make at a time? Could you make 2?
We can make 2 at a time. It usually takes about a 12-day process. We have some space to add some tanks on the back, so we can make 4 at a time. Our hope is to kind of get to the point where we're making kind of 8 to 10 beers on tap. So,
And like you say, I mean, that'd be pretty easy for here because you can hold it here, but for what you want to distribute, that's a little different. Isn't
that's
it?
right.
Yeah.
That's right. And these tanks are big enough that we'll be able to produce some for here, can the rest of it, and be able to distribute it out to wherever you buy packaged beer. So,
Now, I love this setup over here. I have no idea what it does, but it's really impressive.
yes. So I said that the whiskey goes straight into a whiskey fermenter. That's what you're seeing behind you here.
Okay.
The difference between the beer process and the whiskey process is that the mash itself still has the grain on it, so the corn is still in there. So you have to agitate it constantly while it's fermenting. Now, once it actually ferments and produces enough alcohol, that can be pumped straight into this system. And this is kind of a unique still. Usually you see a still and it looks like a kettle with a column on it. This is just the column systems. And so it's pumping in, and it's more works like an oil refinery. So it's actually taking the good parts of the alcohol off and the bad parts of the alcohol off and producing the good parts and pulling them straight to the front. So we'll make it, we'll put it into a container, we'll proof it down to the right proofing level to put into a barrel, and then we'll store those barrels off-site to age.
Okay, so it comes out of here, and then it goes into the barrel. But when you say you proof it first, that means you know the alcohol content, exactly what the alcohol content.
That's right. You have to measure the alcohol content. Part of that is for the tax purposes, right? The state and federal revenue. They want to know exactly how much alcohol you produce. But you also want to water it down to the right level to put in for aging. And then when it comes out of the barrel, you have to go take those measurements again because some of it evaporates off, and you want to proof it down for the right for consumption in a bottle. So,
have you found a provider for your barrels yet?
no, I'm actually still looking. Traditionally is mostly produced out of Missouri. There's a couple places that we've been looking at in Minnesota and Michigan as well. So.
Now, and that's where the aging starts, right? And that's when you have to wait years. Once it gets into a barrel, then you're waiting years. It's a good thing you're a young guy.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
not an old man's game.
That's right. It usually takes about 4 years or more in a normal 55, gallon barrel. We'll also probably experiment with some smaller barrels. There's more surface area to them, and we might be able to get that number down for some of our initial product. But we want to make sure that it's still good, high quality product. So we're still playing around with those techniques. So
Would you bottle that here?
yes.
I mean, you'd age it off-site because you can't have room for all those barrels.
Right.
But you would bottle it here.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll bring it back here and proof it. We have a packaging line that we've designed. It hasn't come in yet, but it'll both can beer and it'll bottle whiskey. So it's kind of a Lego set. So you can kind of take the different parts and put them together and do either one. So
That's great. I guess what I'd like to see next, we went by what's going to be the beer garden.
Yeah.
But we didn't get into the pub room. So can we go in there next?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, out of the brewery, distillery, and now we're in the old building again.
That's right.
Okay. And why do you have this partition the way it is?
Yeah, there used to be a kitchen back here, and then this was the original restaurant. We kind of repartitioned it, so this is going to be our lab space. So we walk out of the brewing where all the process is working. We can come up here, take samples, harvest our yeast, do all the kind of brewing stuff.
When you're
on
doing the
sides.
proofing and all that stuff, that would all be done here?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Well, it's nice to have a work area, and I imagine it'll. It's a dumbwaiter.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well,
It's going to be a dumbwaiter.
it's going to be a dumbwaiter.
Yeah.
And we talked to a lot of people that originally worked here, and they said that the stairs, going up and down the stairs with food and drinks and stuff was just a big pain. So when we decided that we wanted to make a 2-level tap room, we said, well, we can solve part of this problem by building ourselves a dumbwaiter that can come up, grab the drinks out of here, have food carts on the other side.
You'll have a lot less spilled.
That's right.
Oh man, I mean,
That's right.
and dishes broken and everything. Okay, so now, okay, you got lucky with this wall. It's in good shape and it looks beautiful.
Yes.
And this could be a meeting room, I guess, huh?
Yes, so we have these big pocket doors that we built in.
Were they here or did you build them?
We actually had them built.
They're
It was the
nice.
same place in Carlinville built these doors.
that's
They said they
beautiful.
were the biggest doors they ever built. So, but we wanted to be able to divide off some of the space in case you wanted to have a meeting room or
Yeah.
small reception or a birthday party or something like that. The walls in here were all plastered. So we actually peeled off the plaster and we saw this beautiful brick and we said, you know, we got to do something with this brick. So we tuck pointed it, cleaned it all off, and I think it looks really, really good. The archways on the windows, that half moon was originally there in the brick. And we found some wood that we had reclaimed from other parts of the building that kind of matched it, and built the header down and then built the sills on the windows out of it. So
It's
kind of
really nice.
matching old and new is
Yeah.
what we were kind of going
Yeah,
for.
yep. And we were talking about, look, we're of course one floor up from where the bar was. This was a restaurant, right?
That's right.
Okay. And then down there was a bar downstairs, and there still is, and you'll retain a bar down.
Yes, we'll retain, that's where most of the drinks will be served. We just wanted to kind of expand the space, so we kind of made this 2-level space, and we wanted it to feel connected. So what we did is we opened up the ceiling right above the bar, and then we're installing this bar rail up here. This is actually salvaged out of another bar in town. It's an old mahogany bar, I think from the 40s, that's what we believe.
So if you like to stand and just kind of mill around and stand and drink and look down at folks, you can,
That's
you
right.
can do that. Nice.
That's
Nice.
right.
Very nice. Okay. And the old chairs, they were here. They're the old Red Rooster chairs, aren't
Yes,
they?
this is original chairs from the dining room, and then we'll probably have some tabletops made. We're gonna keep the old table legs and then use the old chairs. So
Yeah.
they're sturdier than
Yeah.
a lot of stuff you can buy today.
Man, I
so.
can't get over that tin ceiling too. Was
Yeah.
this the only tin ceiling in the building?
No, there's actually one in the lobby, and we're still working on it. But we kind of looked at these tin ceilings, and we kind of tried to evaluate whether they're worth saving. This one was worth saving. It just took a lot of work, so there was a lot of patching that we had to do.
Yeah.
But it came out really, really
And you
nice.
did the modeled coloring? Was that your work?
Actually, Kendra did the modeled
Did she?
coloring.
Well, she did a
She
good
was
job.
up on a ladder with a foam roller and a spray paint can, and kind of.
Man, it's like Michelangelo in the Sistine Chapel.
That's
That
right.
hurts just to think about it. Okay, and so you can walk right into the lobby as well. If you come up those big white steps we saw at the beginning of the program and
That's right.
come into the lobby.
And come into the lobby, and the lobby's still being worked on, but this is the other tin ceiling that you can see where we've started to patch it. And, we'll get it back into shape. This will mostly be lounge space, but we'll have a big service desk here. So kind of you walk straight through the front door up the porch, and you'll see the desk here. There'll be a breakfast bar. It's actually covered in plywood. We installed the cabinets, but there'll be kind of like a breakfast nook over there, and then kind of some lounge space.
Yeah.
So.
Now, for your apartment dwellers, would they come in this room or in this way, or do they have a separate entrance for the apartments?
The apartments, they'd probably come right in the front, yeah.
Well, Kendra, we see what it almost is. What was it when you first found it?
It was really falling down. The entire structure, inside and out, really there wasn't much salvageable except for the brick itself. It was tuck pointed completely inside and out. There were some families living here, some older people living here, and kind of a hodgepodge of people living here week to week, month to month. Some had been here for 15, 20 years, but it was just kind of, it hadn't been repaired for quite some time.
Yeah.
So it was really kind of,
How
it
many-
needs to be fixed or it's not going to be fixable.
How many folks lived here?
39 people lived here
Wow.
when we moved in, or bought the place and started moving people out.
It had been a couple of years since this was actually a working restaurant and inn, right?
Yeah. I think that the current owners closed the restaurant in 2015 or something like that. So
Yeah. And the conditions were not top rate.
no, the conditions were very poor. The rooms themselves, they had layer after layer of carpet just to kind of keep the floors from falling in, and the radiator system, which was original to the building from 1902, leaked in the walls, so there was water damage everywhere. That was one of the first things we did, was get rid of the radiators.
Yeah. I can't imagine taking on a project like this, but I also, if I had a chance to see it as it was, I'd probably been even more discouraged.
Yeah. Well, we definitely knew what we were getting into. I don't think we weren't surprised by anything. It was, and that's why I say we're so much closer to being done than it looks, because there's no more surprises. There's no more walls that are going to have to be tearing out, floors tearing out, things of that nature.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you to John and yourself for spending time with us. I know you're busy, busier than heck, and for spending an afternoon with us, let us in. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, thanks.
Okay. Here at the Red Rooster Inn, you may have been familiar with it before. It looks a lot different now, and sometime later this summer, you'll probably be able to get a room here. With another Illinois story in Hillsboro, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Illinois Arts Council Agency, and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.